It is great to see you for the second time in 2 days.
It absolutely is. We shared the privilege of riding on the plane with you coming in.
You're too kind.
And now we are excited to be here. The only regret I have is we don't have a team with us. But this is obviously a great weekend for college basketball, the apex of what all of us dream about doing, playing in the Final Four.
And you're too kind, by the way. I wasn't sure when we walked up and said, "Hey, Coach Fisher, how are you?" Because we were on the changeover in Phoenix. Do you mind if we sit next to you? If you were like, "No, get to the back. Marty can sit up here, but you take a hike. Go to the back of the airplane."
No, we were honored that you would want to move next to us. That was good. We had a good time coming in.
And Frieder, he was on the show a little bit earlier. You know, he was telling us all about the history between you guys, going all the way back to the mid-'70s, 1975, he was saying.
It is amazing how this sport can bond people together and families. And given the history of what he and I shared, it doesn't always happen that way. He had a team that I got the credit, and we won a national championship, but we remained close family friends for a long, long time. And he is truly a one-of-a-kind guy. He's now running around here like he owns Radio Row. And
you mean he doesn't?
No, well, that's exactly right. Yeah, he thinks he does.
Well, Coach, I thought it was interesting yesterday because, everybody in San Diego, you're the head coach at San Diego State. So successful there. When you do travel, though, it was interesting to sit there and watch people get on and off the airplanes and stop by, say hello to you, because you were sitting first seat as soon as people got on the plane in Phoenix, and you were there. And people were stopping and saying, "Hey, Coach, how are you? Hey, Coach, congratulations on a great season. Hey, Coach, loved you with Michigan. Hey, Coach, love the what's the most identifiable part of you when you travel around like that? What's the thing that people most often come up and talk to you about?
Well, I would like to say my good looks, but I'm at a stage now where I think what has happened in our tenure at San Diego State is more and more people, not just locally but nationally, are identifying me with the Aztecs. And I like that feel. Yet my legacy will always also be linked to Michigan and the 89 run and then the Fab 5 run. So I get a little bit of both, but I'm getting a lot of San Diego State chatter even here in New Orleans, and it feels good.
And I noticed that, and that's the thing I noticed, because sometimes you would think people would come up and want to ask you about Weber or ask you about winning the championship and the Fab. But I noticed a lot of people saying, "Coach, next year you're going to be on a different plane. You might be on a different plane for one of these tournaments." I thought that was great that San Diego State, I really felt like you could comfortably say this without people thinking that you're just being a homer, is on the national scene. It's on the map for a lot of people in this country.
We're very proud of that fact, and we truly are. And I've talked with the guys that you read every year in the top 10, and they marveled at our team this year. Not last year, but this year's team. We had dinner with Jim Boeheim last night, and he talked about what a great season that we had, him coming off a 34-3 season. So it feels good. It makes you proud. We've had some wonderful accomplishments, and I do believe that there's more to be done, and that's also exciting.
We're talking to Steve Fisher on Radio Row. We're in New Orleans at San Diego Sports Leader XX 1090. I was looking it up here today and thinking about this site, and obviously you have coached in this site. What goes through your mind when you think about the city of New Orleans as a host city, because you did take a team here with the Final Four?
That always flashes through your mind, especially Final Four time, and now that it's back here, our having been here in 1993, and I have wonderful memories. The last 17 seconds weren't so wonderful, but we beat a Kentucky team in the semifinals that was the best team in the country. It's almost like this year's Kentucky team. They were better than anybody in the field, and we beat them in overtime. We would not have beaten them probably in a 4 out of 7, but we beat them in that one game, and then we lost a very well-documented, hard-fought, closely contested game against Carolina in the finals. So that comes back. People want to talk about it. I don't think about it continually, but this time of year in New Orleans, obviously you do.
You bring up that Kentucky team, and I remember that game for this reason. I actually have that on VHS someplace in my house. You beat Mashburn was on that team, right? I believe, was it Travis Ford was on that team?
Travis Ford, now the Oklahoma State coach.
Right, and you guys went to overtime, and if I'm not mistaken, you fouled Mashburn out of the game, right?
We did. That
was one of the greatest college games I've ever seen in my life. Just the star power that was there and on those two rosters.
Darren, they had won their 4 games going into to get to the Final Four by an average of over 30 points a game. They didn't just beat people; they destroyed people to get there. And our kids played terrific in that game.
Your thoughts, Coach, as somebody in the profession about what's being discussed down here today, and I'm sure the coaches are talking about it, about the sport, the one-and-done status for teams like Kentucky. You've had pretty high-powered players. You've had players leave early at San Diego State, and Kawhi and Marcus. Your thoughts about college basketball as a whole now and players making the jump to the next level?
I think, Darren, in a perfect world, you would have the ability to have players more than 1 year, a la Kentucky. And yet, if you're a parent of one of those players and you know that you are an ACL injury away from nobody picking up the phone, I think then it's a whole different ball game that you think about. So I've got mixed emotions. I said one time that if we could possibly adopt what baseball has, let a kid go out of high school if he thinks he's ready. If he goes to college, then have him stay for 3 years. I don't think that will happen, but and I also would say that you're a hypocrite and not telling the truth if you say you would not recruit any of the players that Calipari has that are one and done. We all would. I mean, because those are great players, and you hope that they're good enough to be talked about. Is he going to come back next year?
And I was just going to ask you that about whether or not you would take a shot at a guy like that. And you're right. I do think everybody would. It's easy to sit there up on a soapbox and say you wouldn't do it. When all of a sudden you get that opportunity to do it, man, look how far he's taken these guys, these one-and-done guys. It's the 3rd time he's been here. Yeah,
there's absolutely no question that these are elite players. And what has been impressive about this year's Kentucky team is they don't look like freshmen. They don't play like freshmen, and they don't play selfishly. They really have done a wonderful job. And I think you got to give John Calipari credit for the way that team has played to get where they are.
Some of your fans had worried during the season, and I'm sure we brought it up on the air about Jamal Franklin, because he was playing so well it becomes natural to say, is somebody going to get to him? Is he thinking about making that jump? Did it ever cross your mind at all as he was playing as well as he played?
It did a little bit. We've talked about it, and the NBA now has a real good tool if the players are smart enough to utilize it, and Jamal is and will. Kawhi did, where they give you a real effective, honest evaluation of where you might stand. They have like 19 or 20 NBA personnel that if you ask and you got to sign a form, they will give you 7 guys say you're a first-round pick, 3 say you're a second. They won't put it in writing. They won't say who says what, but they will give you this report. So I will get that on Jamal hopefully next week when I go back and share it with him, and then Jamal will get on the phone with them, and they will tell him the same thing they tell me. And I think then you see kind of where you stand. And with Jamal, had such a huge rise from year 1 to year 2 that I do think that he needs to listen and hear what people say, and in all probability be back next year.
And you've already discussed that with him. I said because I know fans, sometimes you worry, oh no, I hope it doesn't happen and he should stay. Would it be the worst thing in the world if they felt like he was ready to make that jump, to have San Diego State have 2 players back-to-back seasons? I don't know how often that's happened, but a lot of times that's a pretty good measure of a program.
I would agree with you there also. I think when we get the information back to us, we'll have a better feel, and now you can make a more intelligent decision. You're not listening to what all the street people tell you, all the things you want to hear that could be a 180 from reality. I think he'll get the true picture. And the nice thing about Jamal, he watched Kawhi, and I do believe he trusts me that I'm not trying to keep him here for my benefit. I want to do what we feel and what he feels is in his best interest, and I want to help be a part of that process.
And how great is Kawhi? I know we talked about it on the airplane. He had 19 the other night. He's picking up double-doubles in the league. He found himself such a good landing spot.
He certainly did, Darren. Sometimes things happen, and they happen, and it turns out to be a great move. Everybody talked about him being a top 10 pick, and he goes to about like 15, and he was disappointed when he slid that low. could not have picked a more perfect place to be with San Antonio and Popovich and that crew of professionals who act and represent themselves as professionals.
Now, how's your assistant coach to your right here? He's been on the show one time, and he lit the world on fire.
Tony's the best. I heard him on with you. I told him, you can't do it anymore. You're better than I am already.
I thought that was Dutcher that was saying that.
Tony has never met a guy that he doesn't like and doesn't like him. He's got a smile on his face, and he's having a good time, and he's done a magnificent job for the Aztecs.
Well, he said he's going to stop by tomorrow as we do this show, so we'll look forward to talking to him. And, Coach, it's good to see you here. I know Frieder said make sure he goes right over to that radio station over there. So I told you, I did my job.
I once an assistant, always an assistant, so I still follow his marching orders. Darren, thank you for having me on. Marty, thank you for having me on. Look forward to seeing you guys often back in beautiful San Diego.
Are you staying for the games?
I am.
All three?
I never stay for the championship game, but this year I am staying for the championship game. So.
I thought that was a big taboo for coaches, that coaches traditionally, or at least it was written in the John Feinstein book, the one he wrote about the ACC, that coaches didn't like sticking around for Monday night.
That is usually the case, but I've got a multitude of things that I've agreed to do that take me right into game time on Monday, and so I will be staying for the game on Monday.
Well, Coach, thank you very much.